Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Low Season Traveller Insider Guides. I'm Jed Brown, your host for this week's episode, and today we're joined by Paula Martin from First Class Holidays, who are our new strategic partners for Canada. Now, some of our regular followers will have noticed that at the end of last year, we launched our very first guides to Canada when we released our low season guides to Vancouver, Quebec and Toronto. Well, we were able to do that because we are delighted to have partnered with the absolute Canada experts at First Class Holidays. We could see that their passionate team of management and staff have a genuine love for what they do, which is making people's dreams become a reality. And they have first-hand experience of the destinations they offer. The advice and tips that they can give to their clients are based on a reliable wealth of knowledge that they've garnered from their own extensive travels. So, to kick off our partnership with First Class Holidays team, I headed over to their head office in the shadow of Old Trafford in Manchester to speak with Paula, who is clearly the most passionate Canada expert you could ever hope to meet. So sit back and relax as we hear from Paula just what makes Canada so special during the wonderful low season months. Enjoy. Welcome to the Low Season Traveller Insider Guides podcast. Great to have you on the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, thank you, Jed. Thank you very much for asking us to come on board.
It's absolutely our pleasure. So it's lovely to be here with you at First Class Holidays HQ. Do you call it First Class Holidays Towers?
First Class Holidays Towers, for in our lovely sunny-ish Manchester today, isn't it?
It stopped raining,
yes.
So we'll take that, won't we?
Yeah, definitely.
So, look, first of all, tell our listeners a little bit about First Class Holidays. We're delighted to have signed up to be partners with yourselves, in particular for Canada and Tahiti and all these wonderful places. But for our listeners that might not be aware of First Class Holidays, just give us a little bit of an overview about who you guys are and how long you've been around and what you do.
Certainly. Well, yes. Well, we're a tour operator based up here in the north in Manchester, and we've been trading for 27 years now. Wow. And we are the destination specialists of choice for many of our wonderful travel agents and customers. Our focus on destinations, Canada is our number one destination. Right. It always has been, and I'm sure it always will be. Although we do a whole host of other supplementary beautiful destinations and gorgeous parts of the world, Tahiti certainly included. But we also do a big focus on Alaska's the biggest area of the states that we do. But the whole of the United States, Australia, New Zealand, all the different Pacific islands, French Polynesia and everywhere. And then our new kid on the block, I suppose, was South Africa that we launched in 2019. We've got a really nice destination portfolio, really.
You definitely have. And you've been going for a while. Now, you were just saying before that you've been working for First Class Holidays personally for almost
25 years. Yeah, I think I've been here almost from the beginning, but and I think, to be honest, we have a lot of staff that have been here a long time, and I think that's evident in our passion for not only the business but for our customers, our agents, and our clients, sort of putting together those bespoke itineraries. And we have this ethos here at First Class that we treat every inquiry as if it's your own or a valued family member, as long as they're the valued ones. You want to make sure
not the bad ones.
Not the bad ones at all. But we sort of really pride ourselves. It's good old fashioned service, but our knowledge and expertise that we want to share with people. These are the type of information you can't just pick up online. That you want this. Holidays are so much more precious than ever before, really, what we've all come through. And we're very lucky. The type of destinations that we do are amazing, and at any time of year. And we're happy to, hopefully influence and inspire and just share some of these wonderful, magical destinations with people.
I love that. It reminds me of my days when I used to be at a travel agency. and we used to describe it as you're selling people's dreams.
You are,
and it's a lovely responsibility to have in many ways, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly. We're not selling light bulbs, are we?
Exactly.
We are. You're selling those memories, and and we're very fortunate that the destinations that we do are on a lot of people's bucket list. They really, really are. But and I think this is what makes us, where we do stand out from the crowd. We don't just deal with anybody. We only deal with hand-picked suppliers, hand-picked hotels, and we regularly monitor and ensure that they're carrying our name and our brand and our ethos with them. And if they're not, we won't use them, because customers' holidays are their dreams, are their hard-earned cash, and are the precious holiday memories. So we want to make sure we provide really good value for money, but at the same time they get the best around experience, irrespective of whatever budget they're spending.
Yeah, I love that. And that obviously that attention to detail and personal service, that's why people come back to you again and again.
They do. I mean, I'll be honest with you, if there was Canadian Tourist Board ran various award ceremonies throughout the years, and I think they ran the best tour operator to Canada for like 15 years, and we won it 14 years. We're a little bit like the Ant and Dex of the travel industry.
What happened on that one year?
Well, we just had to let somebody else have a go for a change. Hence you will see all these various awards.
Awards all over this office.
Yeah, we run out of shelf space sometimes. So, which is, it's always wonderful to get awards, but I think, and sometimes some of the most precious ones are, being recognised within our industry by our peers, but some of the excellent, the FIFO awards and just really the recognition of the outstanding customer care, customer service for everybody. So from start to finish, because we do everything here. We put together the whole itineraries, we research and contract the hotels, we write our brochures, we book the holidays, we do the tickets, we send out everything here. So we're a bit like a one-stop shop type of thing.
You definitely are.
Yeah.
And tell me this, you were mentioning before that, obviously you are Canada specialists over many, many years.
Yes.
How did you come to be Canada specialist? How did you come to sort of zero in on Canada?
I think, if I'm honest with you, it was a bit of a love affair with Canada, that our original owners, Paul Ainsworth, who is our chairman now, and Sharon Mason, who our original founders, they just loved the place, and it just seemed to be a natural progression of if you fall in love with somewhere, you're going to be able to talk about it and share that knowledge. So, and I think really we also saw an opportunity within the travel industry that there weren't that many specialists around, or that was certainly homing in on a destination. And I think for a few years, Canada certainly is our main focus, and by all means it's still a good 70% of our business is Canada, and we don't want to ever that tailor off, although obviously some of the other areas have naturally grown. People love us for Canada and love how we've been and treated them for their holiday destinations, and have naturally come to us, where else do you do? So but I would say really the trouble with Canada, or not, maybe not the trouble with it, we have a big campaign on at the moment. It's called We Love Canada with Canadian Tourist Board, that is very much, once you go to Canada, it gets its hooks into you. Like many of our destinations, you will go back, and it's which way, shape or form, or when you go back. It's just such a beautiful destination for oodles of reasons. But you will, and then I think the day that we stop being passionate about it is maybe a day that I don't ever envisage not being in.
I can't imagine that would happen.
No, not at all. Exactly. And it's and this is what's wonderful about not just Canada, but travel in general, how it evolves. Yes, there might not be new mountains, but there's different ways of experiencing them, or viewing them, and different ways, different Indigenous tours, and different things that are coming on board. So every year there's new product, and a different outlook of how to share it. So that's what gets me excited, certainly, anyway.
Fair play. So how many times have you been to Canada?
Oh,
do you even know how many? Is it countless times?
It's probably About 15 to 20. I have lost count a little bit, I must admit. I actually even got engaged in Canada.
Did you?
All those years ago.
Gosh.
Yeah, my very first holiday with my now husband.
Yeah.
We got engaged there as well. So it's always had an extra special place in my heart.
Very good. So of all, obviously, Canada, the one thing about Canada is it's a huge country.
It's massive.
There's a lot of it.
Extremely.
and therefore there's a lot to discover.
Yes.
Obviously, we've just started at Low Season Traveller working really closely with you guys, and we're delighted to do so. And we, first of all, we're featuring Quebec, Vancouver, and Toronto during the low season months, which is very exciting. I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about each of those destinations and why they're kind of special, and why people should consider them.
Definitely. Well, Vancouver in that area, first of all, and I'll be honest with you, Vancouver's my favourite Canadian city.
Is it really? You've got favourites?
I've got favourites.
I would have thought it would be like choosing a favourite child.
Well, it depends. Sometimes I can have favourites for the whole year, or sometimes I've got favourites depending on the season or what do you want to experience and do. Because Vancouver's so cosmopolitan, I think it's got everything. Especially one of my favourite holidays and experiences there was travelling in the winter months, actually. Myself and my husband went, and we'd come in on the Canadian train, so we'd slept overnight on the train from the Rockies, from Jasper through to Vancouver, and then had a beautiful stay in a city centre hotel. And what was amazing is, especially off season or low season, certainly anyway, this when we went, it was the February time of year, so we could get to make use of a fantastic airfare, because the airfares were amazing at that time of year. The hotels were amazing as well, so we were able to pick up really competitive rates on a lot of the hotels that ordinarily would be very expensive in the summer months, because Vancouver now is, I think after Sydney, I think it's the second highest price for real estate in the world. Yeah,
did not know that.
Yeah, so so you imagine it's such a desirable area. There's not many cities that have got the peninsula that Vancouver has, with the mountains and the and beautiful Stanley Park, a bit like Central Park in New York, if anyone's not been there, where you've got beaches you can go hiking and walking, and every much downtown core. It's a walking city. You really don't need a car. Biggest tip would be drop your car when you arrive in Vancouver.
Really?
Don't pay for city centre parking. You really don't need it. But the city has got such an energy and such a vibe. I love the nightlife. Amazing nightlife. Amazing restaurants and cafe culture. Robson Street is a bit like Rodeo Drive, I suppose, of Vancouver. With loads of some of the best restaurants and coffee houses. Lovely all around the harbour area, and of course this is where in the summer months, May through to September time, you can go on Alaskan cruises will sail from there. But even the North Shore of Vancouver, in Vancouver in the winter months, certainly you can go skiing overnight as well. So they have Grouse Mountain, and so you're in a city and you can see in the distance all the mountain lit up with all. So imagine being able to work in the day and just go skiing overnight in a city.
I'll take that.
Exactly. So some amazing, obviously not just winter activities, but just that cosmopolitan mix of Vancouver. And I am a bit of a shopaholic. Really good shopping. Great shopping. So it's just got everything, and a very mix of old and new. Some fabulous accommodation from boutique type of style, and you're on the doorstep of Vancouver Island as well. So, which incidentally is the size of the UK, the size of England, Vancouver.
Is it really?
Yeah. So a lot of people just don't realise in the scale of things. But there's a lot, and so Vancouver's a really good base, and anywhere around there of doing a lot of people will go just in line in the summer months for the cruises, but it has such a wide accessibility point of view, and there's a lot of Indigenous tours as well, certainly over on Vancouver Island, and in different accessible from Vancouver. You've got some amazing resorts and spa activities, and you can go bear viewing, whale watching. You can do all of that from Vancouver. So you've got the wildlife element, you've got some of the mountains. They're not the Rockies, but you've got some amazing mountains, and you've got some lush amazing scenery, and quite a rugged coastline as well. So hence why it's bear and whale country.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. I love Vancouver, as I'm sure you
so
can tell.
would you say that would be a good introduction if somebody's never been to Canada before?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's one of those places, I mean, people do go for short breaks. So you'd want to certainly, I would say, minimum 3 or 4 nights just in the city.
Yeah.
And then go out and explore. So I would certainly say Vancouver and that area of British Columbia is amazing, and you've got Whistler and you've got Victoria and the whole of Vancouver Island accessible. But it's a start to or an end point for the Rockies as well.
Yeah.
Most people will travel onwards, either end in Vancouver. Most people tend to end in Vancouver. I like to start in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of, I like to go against the grain, but I like to go the furthest point out west in Canada, and then travel through to do Vancouver and the islands, or your cruises, or whatever else you want to do. And of course the States are on your doorstep.
Yeah.
And then maybe go to the Rockies and then do wherever else.
Very good.
Yeah. So sorry, I've lost what else we were talking about there. So
right.
my love of Vancouver is paramount.
I can see.
So then certainly, obviously French Canada, Quebec, the second biggest province. It is massive. It is, and so much of it is relatively unspoilt and untouched as well. I think sometimes for the UK passenger, I think it's the big French influence obviously is massive. Where French is speaking first in some of the cities. You'll never have a problem, travelling, and it is quite a Parisian feel in certain.
Really?
In certain
I was going to say,
parts.
Does it feel kind of European?
Yeah,
almost?
very much. And you can see why the North Americans love it so much, because obviously we are relatively spoiled, aren't we? Having Europe on our doorstep, and it's why it is really just so popular with a lot of the North Americans. I mean, the city of Quebec City, which is which is one of the cities within the province of Quebec, is the oldest walled city in North America. So, quite hilly with some beautiful. The Fairmont Chateau Frontenac is one of the iconic landmarks on the hill. And any listeners wanting to go to Quebec City, even if you don't stay at a Fairmont hotel, go and have a look, or go and have a drink at the Fairmont Chateau Frontenac. It dominates the skyline. Fairmont hotels historically were built by the Canadian Railroad.
Right.
So they were originally, I think it's Cornelius Van Horn, if I remember rightly, said if we can't import the tourists, we'll get them over to the hotels. So we can't export the scenery, we'll import the tourists that way. But they originally built all these magnificent hotels as they were plotting the railroad throughout Canada. And there are some amazing ones in the region of Quebec. So almost every city in Canada you will have a Fairmont hotel. They were originally the Canadian Pacific Railway hotels. Fairmont acquired and a few different ones, but I mean, for example, in Vancouver I think there's 5 in Vancouver now. But certainly in Quebec, I mean, the Chateau Frontenac is the iconic one that I always think of, but you've got them in every city. But definitely it's well worth, they're evident there. And what's wonderful about Quebec and Quebec as a region, a lot of people will go to Quebec and Montreal as just a short break as well. And it's so, we find not only because of the amazing airfares low season, it's so geared up for winter travel. So not only for passengers who want to ski and do all your usual winter activities, your sleigh rides, your ice skate and all that type of thing. A lot of, especially in Eastern Canada, a lot of the, it's called the Path network, so they have a lot of the shops and accessibility from underground. It's a whole system. So if you don't want to walk outside in your woolies and your thermals, you don't really have to. So
it's all interconnected as well.
It's all interconnected. It's amazing. You can walk for miles.
Really?
Honestly. So from a point of view, if you want to go, from A to B type of thing, you don't have to go in. I mean, their winters are so crisp and clear, and I think as long as you go, prepared for it. And we'd always pass on those recommendations. But yeah, certainly it's just so different. There's lots of different things, and you can even go bear watching in Quebec as well. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
So what kind of, when you talk about you were saying it's good for short breaks. Mm-hmm. What kind of length do people go on a short break?
Well, we've noticed a bit of an increase in some of 4-night durations, or people might do 2 nights Montreal, 2 nights Quebec. A lot of people historically will normally spend about a week in that region though, because there is so much to see and do. But what we've just noticed a little bit, well, we've been encouraging it as well, is that a lot of people will think of New York just as a stopover, but we're on the same peninsula, and the airfares are directly from Heathrow, or from regional airports with a change, but it's just seems to be one of those areas, or a lot of people may have done the Rockies, for example, and they're looking for something a little bit different. They may have family or friends in different regions. We can connect all those. I always think of Canada as a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle, but we can create the picture. So if any listeners have got family or friends anywhere, by all means go and visit them. But your airfare is often one of the dearest components of your holiday. Why not do a stopover and go and see somewhere else within Canada? Because we do all of that type of thing. But the rail connections in Quebec essentially are an amazing way. So if people don't want to drive, there is the corridor service, it's called, that runs with Via Rail, and it's literally point to point. Literally, you can look at the map and it looks like a straight line almost, but amazing rail service year round, really, really low pricing, and a good way of being straight into the heart of the city as well. So that works really well.
We know that you guys obviously do quite a lot with the rail in Canada. And we've done a few podcasts recently on rail travel, most recently in Switzerland actually. And I've not done a huge amount of rail travel internationally.
Yeah.
But it opened my eyes in my ignorance, and maybe for our listeners as well. Because of the experience of rail travel in the UK, I don't automatically think that's an experience that I want when I'm traveling. Yeah. But just so our listeners understand, the rail travel in Canada, it's not like the UK.
Oh
right?
My goodness, no.
I mean, and just how far away is it from the UK experience?
A million times better, literally. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't really like travelling on trains in the UK. I'd have no qualms in travelling. I've been very fortunate to go on the Cross Canada train, the Canadian, that runs from Toronto through to Vancouver and vice versa. So that is like a 4-night journey if you do the whole, but you don't have to do the whole. You can do segments of it. And I've been on the Rocky Mountaineer, the infamous 2-day rail journey, that is a bit like a cruise on rail. That is amazing. Really? Yeah, that is like 5-star deluxe. And then I recently did a Toronto to Niagara on the Amtrak stroke Via Rail service as well. So you can, even the shorter journeys, it's like travelling business class on a flight.
Wow.
That would be my impression. They're so friendly. They run to time generally. Obviously, I know things, weather and whatever, can get in the way. But they're very, very frequent, a very, very cost-effective way, and you can certainly cover a lot of ground without worrying about the driving. And the Canadians are so friendly. You're travelling on a train journey, and 9 times out of 10, if you want to be chatting to somebody, you can make a lot of friends on a train.
Nice.
on a train journey. It's nice, and especially the likes of the Via Rail service is used by the locals. So you will get to meet people who are traveling for point to point or on their own holidays.
I think that's nice as well. I think it's important for some people if they want to feel when they're traveling that they're they are meeting the local people and mixing with the local people,
definitely.
Because you learn so much about the destination when you speak to the locals.
Definitely. And and in some of the more remote areas of Canada, or some for customers who really want to getting in the depths of Canada. Some of these train services are really what feeds the communities as well. So there are, especially in some of the like the prairie provinces and things like that, or even in some parts of Ontario and Quebec, where they're very reliant upon the train just because the sheer geographical size and mileage of some of these areas. But no, it's a really, really, really good way of traveling about, and like you say, it's reliable as well. So I think that is
we're not used to it, are we? We're just not used to it. We're not used to it.
No, not at all. And sorry, the other area was Toronto, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Toronto. I was there in September. Love it. I actually went back with my husband. First time I took him back since we got engaged. I thought, better take him back. Yeah. But yeah, did that for a little short break. I love Toronto for a little mini break, if I'm honest with you. I just did a weekend. I just did 3 nights. Nice. Yeah.
How long's the flight?
7 to 8 hours, depending. Okay. Yeah, but and we can fly directly from Manchester, and there are a lot of regional departures, from different parts of the UK where you can fly directly to Toronto. It's a great stopover destination as well, so really good way of getting rid of any jet lag. So if you are travelling out west, break your journey in Toronto. They're only 5 hours behind us. Short flight, and you don't really feel. Touch wood if it's me, seasoned traveller certainly. But I love Toronto any time of year. I've been there in the summer, been there in the winter. I think I've been there almost every season. It's a lovely, vibrant city, real mix of all cultures as well, and a real nice mix of different activities. And it was nice going back. We sent a lot of our agents there this year, 2022, and some of the feedback we had as well is that a lot of people don't realise what a great city it is for that short break, and how much there is to see and do there within the city itself. And even like the hop on hop off buses, and how you can go around, and yes, you don't really need a car. We jumped the ferry over to Toronto Islands, and we were on one of the beaches in September. Wow. Again, you don't think of Toronto for its beaches.
No, not in the slightest. I wouldn't have had a clue.
Yeah, so you've got the amazing skyline, amazing everything that any city would have to offer, from its theatres, restaurants, dining, to some really unique type of quirky little theatres and quirky little museums. There's one small Canada. I can't remember the name of it now. I'm sorry. But there's all things where like Canada by miniature. Yeah. You've got all the different. I love the hop on hop off for giving you an experience of the different neighbourhoods within Toronto. Very, very safe areas as well. Yeah. Really, really safe. And if you're a foodie, some amazing food, amazing. And we were there when all the if you're a sports fan, all the Toronto Blue Jays were playing, and nice. so to be in some of the bars when all the games are on. I know some of my colleagues went to some of the games, and then of course it's a great starting point of visiting anywhere else. So we did Niagara for the day.
How far is Niagara? Sorry, from
Niagara Falls is a couple of hours, an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. Okay. Yeah, but great on the train as well. I did it by rail for the first time this year. They have like a train that goes at like 8 o'clock in the morning and comes back about 6 p.m. Perfect. So it was perfect, and it was a nice way, leisurely. We grabbed even the train stations in Canada.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, they're just beautiful.
Yeah. Not like Piccadilly Station.
No, you couldn't be further. Honestly, just to give you an idea. The Fairmont Royal York, which was historically the hotel that our late great Queen stayed at, across the road, that's where the railway station is, and it's this beautiful, gorgeous big building, and it does have like a food court, and but you would think you're almost walking into a museum at first. Really? It is just beautiful, iconic, and everything so clean and it's just so well organised, very super helpful. And you can pick up your coffees or whatever, or have them on board the train, and it was just a really, really great experience. And even now they have a train that runs from the Toronto airport to downtown as well, the UP Express. So easy. You don't even have to worry about getting a taxi.
And it's just straight into the centre of town.
Straight from, literally, you don't have to go outside at the airport. It's in one of the airport terminal buildings, straight into downtown. So, but yeah, really good mix. And I think no matter what time of year, amazing Christmas markets in Toronto and in all of the cities, but certainly in Toronto, I loved those. I took some agents a few years ago, and we went with some of the they have this big distillery district.
Yes.
So all like regenerated distilleries, and which is nice at any time of the year, but at Christmas it really is quite magical.
Oh wow, incredible! Niagara Falls as well. For anybody that hasn't, because I'm one of those, so I've never been to Toronto, I've never been to Niagara Falls, seen the images, indeed on our own website and on the First Class Holidays website, there's some incredible photos of Niagara Falls. Yes. What's that experience like when you get there? You know, is it literally just that there's the falls there? I think you get a boat out in the middle of the falls, is it? Tell us a little bit about the experience. Why is it such a popular place to go to?
I think the thing is, you're so close to it from Toronto, so I think a lot of people will go and visit it for the day or stay there. I will be honest, it is quite commercialised. It's the only place in Canada there is like that. So there is like a strip with everything from, like your arcadesy type of Madame Tussauds type of that. And there's nowhere else in Canada that is like that. And it's purely because of its proximity to the States. Right. So literally. However, please don't let that spoil anybody's impressions of Niagara Falls. It has, some families, for example, or people who want that vibrant culture there. It's there if they want it, but you almost don't have to see that if you don't want to see it. Niagara Parks Commission have spent millions on the beautiful landscapes and the walks that you can do all along the Niagara Parksway. It's amazing, and no matter what time of year you go. So yes, you will have all the bright lights and the fun fairs and the bowling alleys and all of that if you want, and the casinos. There's big casinos there. Okay. So you've got all that, but that's not taken apart. The falls are spectacular. So there's no building. There's no big commercialism just on the falls, but to see the falls, it literally runs the Niagara Falls town, which incidentally is about 20 minutes or so away from the Niagara Falls themselves. So if you do jump a train, you have to jump a taxi or get the bus. But the Niagara Falls itself, it's amazing. And you can go on, it used to be called the Maid of the Mist. It's now called the Hornblower Cruises. So, and whichever way you see Niagara, you will enjoy it. I mean, you can go on the boat, certainly, and we do like a pass where you can incorporate different attractions. But you can go on the boat, which is arguably the most popular. You can go in the scenic tunnels, which is the journey behind the falls, where you actually literally do go down these tunnels, and you just hear the full scale of the noise and the spray and everything. A helicopter ride, you can go over, so you go over under almost through the falls, and then we have a few other different attractions as well of just different ways, or you can go and see the history and the pump house, and so easy would spend a full day there. And what's a shame about some people's misconceptions is that they think they only want to do the day tour. I personally would spend a night in Niagara Falls. I think if you know that it's not like Victoria Falls in Africa, that you will get there and it is quite built up. I think as long as you know that, and this is why we'll always be honest with our customers, so you'll know that it has a lot to offer. And then half an hour down the road, 40 minutes down the road, the quintessential Niagara-on-the-Lake, which is the complete opposite to Niagara Falls, which is like, whereas the hotels and everything are really reasonable in Niagara Falls, there's a couple of very, it's quite colonial, quite old world, old style grandeur, gorgeous restaurants, gorgeous bars, very, very New England-esque type of feel. Hotels 4 times what you will pay in Niagara Falls, but certainly not commercialised at all. So you've got something to suit everybody. Really. And you're not right on the falls, so you are on the Niagara Lake. But there are also some very popular resorts for like families sort of in between as well. So there's something certainly for everybody.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
I must admit, when I was looking at the information which we got from you guys on low season in these places, Toronto, it really jumped out at me. And it's one of those places I'm imagining, for me, for my personal situation, it could be like San Francisco. San Francisco was a destination I had no particular desire to go to, and when I went, it blew me away.
Yes,
I kind of have a feeling that maybe Toronto's a bit like that.
that.
I'd never had any great urge to go and see and experience Toronto.
Yeah.
But when we put it up on the website and I was reading about it from the information that you guys had given us, I was like, you know what? I think I could really enjoy Toronto.
Oh, it is. It's like it's almost. It often gets overshadowed with people like going to like New York and places like that, and we say, but New York has gone so expensive, accommodation wise. Toronto, yes, it might not have some of the iconic buildings that you will associate with the likes of. I mean, I love New York. Don't get me wrong; it certainly has its magical place there. However, there are so many, If you like your culture and you like your museums, I think there's a museum for almost everything in Toronto. The arts are very, very big. They do some amazing like West End Broadway type of shows in Toronto. There is really something for everybody. But it's often a bit of a best kept secret. But lots of people will go do like a 4-night break or just do the day tour to Niagara if they'd rather stay in the city, or do the rail, or then just stop off before they're going onwards different parts of North America.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful overview to those 3 destinations. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
At the moment then, with you guys at First Class Holidays, we're recording this on what day are we on today?
The 9th of January.
The 9th of January. Where's hot at the moment? Where are people booking to at the moment?
Right, well, we're still booking a lot for this summer, certainly. Availability is getting a little bit more limited, but if anybody can find it, certainly we can. A lot of Canada, a lot of Western Canada, so incorporating Vancouver and the Rockies with Alaskan cruises. We're doing a lot of passengers that maybe gone to Canada for the second time, maybe going to the likes of, or the Quebec region, incorporating Toronto, or the likes of Atlantic Canada as well. It's becoming more and more popular. So we're booking lots of there. We're doing a lot of Australia and New Zealand. I think with their only opening their floodgates quite recently. A lot of people haven't been able to travel to Australia and New Zealand. So we're certainly doing a lot. And even people booking it rather last minute as well, which is
it's strange because you usually think of Australia and New Zealand, people would book well in advance.
That's it. We're literally booking it and departing on was the same month, which was unheard of many moons ago. But and we are getting a lot of like round the world inquiries. So we're doing some of the Pacific Island, the French Polynesia. We're getting a really nice mix. And I've noticed quite a few sort of California self drives, and there's all sorts of things at the moment.
Lovely stuff. And before we let you go for this episode, tell us this: where are you going next on your travels? Have you got anything booked?
I haven't got anything specifically booked, but I could tell you where I fancy it.
Come on.
I went to Atlantic Canada last year with a group of small agents, so I'm hoping to persuade my husband, which he will go along with whatever I decide. So I'm really fancying Atlantic Canada, but I would like to extensively do more in Quebec. And what's wonderful, we talked about the trains and whatever, there is a train that links Atlantic Canada with Quebec, so you can actually, win-win. So we don't want to drive it all the way through. It's either that or the Caribbean, because we do Caribbean now as well. So
really?
yes, we do some Caribbean islands. So I'm a big fan of doing multi-centre holidays though as well. So nothing pre-planned as yet, but there's a lot in the watch this space. Shall we say?
Lovely.
Yeah.
Listen, Paula, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. It's been an absolute joy listening to you and learning about these destinations. And I think we'll have to do another podcast in the future about some other fabulous destinations in Canada.
Oh, definitely. No, thank you for asking us. Love talking to you.
So there you have it. And of course, you can learn more about the low season months in Canada by visiting lowseasontraveller.com. And of course, if you have any specific queries about Canada in the low season months, you can visit fcholidays.com. Or, of course, you could give Paula a call on 0161 888 5630. She'd be delighted to hear from you. But that's our show for this week. Thanks, as always, for your company. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please do leave us a positive rating and review on your podcast app. And also don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn to be the first to hear our latest low season stories, articles and guides. Have a great week wherever you are, and remember that travel is always better and fairer for the planet, the local communities and you the travellers, when it's without the crowds.